sorry girls, that video cut short. So we were here, we had h squared is equal to 25. So how do I move the square, or the 2? The opposite to a square is the square root. So I get the square root of that side, and to be fair, like we talked about, when you're doing algebra, it's all about what I do to one, I must do to the other. So if I got the square root of this side, I must get the square root of that side. So the square root of h squared is h, you get rid of the 2, that was the whole point. And the square root of 25 is 5. And the question is now, am I right? Or is there any way to check, am I correct? Absolutely, we can go back up here and substitute back in. So instead of h, I'd have 5 squared is equal to 4 squared plus 3 squared. 25 is equal to 25. Yes, that is the correct answer. So that side is equal to 5. And what do you notice in the triangle? The hypotenuse, or the hippopotamus is what I say in my head, is always the biggest side. Is that the biggest side? Yes. That side was 4, this side is 3, and this side is the biggest at 5. Another example then is what happens if they give me the hypotenuse and they ask me to find the other side. Okay, so again, we're looking at a similar triangle. The first job of every single type of question is that you label your triangle. So this was 10, that's equal to the hypotenuse. How do I know? It's opposite the right angle. I'm going to let this be A, but that could be B, and it doesn't matter which way I put these ones, A and B. Okay. So my formula was the hypotenuse squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. It's back to my basic substitution in algebra. What do I put in instead of H? I put 10 in. What do I put in instead of A? I put 6 in, and I don't know what B squared is, so I'll have to wait. I work out what I can. So 100, 36, so 10 squared is 100, 6 squared is 36, plus B squared. What letter do I want? Now I stop and go back to my basic idea in algebra. What do I want here? I want to know what B is. What is stopping me from having B? The thing that is stopping me from having B is this 36. So I'm going to move the 36. How do I move 36? It's plus 36 at the moment. There's no sign there, so it's a plus. So to move 36, I take 36 away from both sides. So 100 minus 36 is 64. And that's now equal to B squared, because 36 minus 36 disappears or becomes 0. I'm now left with a B squared is equal to 64. I wasn't asked to find B squared, I was asked to find B. So what's stopping me having B? It's this little 2 again. It's a square. And what's the opposite to a square? It's the square root. So I'm going to get the square root of both sides. And that's going to give me B is equal to 8. I can check my answer, but I can just simply look at it and see, does it make sense? These two sides are smaller than this side, so that makes sense. Quickly, I can go 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, 64 and 36 gives you back 100, which is 10 squared. So I know I'm correct. So the function of this rule, Pythagoras, is to find a missing side in a triangle. There is only one major rule. This triangle must have a right angle in it. If it doesn't have a right angle in it, you cannot use this method. Okay. Now, for this entire chapter, they're all going to be right angle triangles, so you can use it. Okay. So, if we take a look at the triangles on this page, the first thing I'll ask you to do, I'm going to ask you to do for me, I'm not going to ask you to do a huge number of them, I'm just going to ask you to do 6 through to 10. Okay, so page 184, 6 to 10. Probably have that forgotten as I go to write it down. Page 184, question 6 to 10. Your first job is to draw the triangle in your copy, label the hypotenuse, and then, as I have done, write down your formula, sub in, and try to work it out. Okay, so there's only 4 questions there, and I'm going to ask you to do those questions for me for the next day. Okay, thanks very much, and we'll talk soon.